Hi, I'm here to talk about China's self-strengthening movement. It started under the Qin dynasty. The Qin dynasty regulated Chinese quahogs and trade with foreigners. From the 1600s to the 1700s, Spanish and Portuguese traders brought maize, sweet potatoes, and peanuts from the Americas to China. The Chinese mainly accepted silver bars from its foreign merchants in Canton who represented mostly Western nations, where there was a high demand for silk, tea, porcelain, and lacquerware. The Manchus took over Ming China, and the Manchus maintained social values such as social structure based on filial piety, the Confucian doctrine, women inferiority, and foot binding. They also adopted many traditional Chinese administrative polities from the Ming dynasty. The term Middle Kingdom was coined due to Chinese ethocentrism towards tributary states such as Vietnam, Tibet, Taiwan, Mongolia, Burma, and Nepal. In the mid-1800s, China became the victim of many unequal treaties undermining Chinese sovereignty, and the self-strengthening movement began in the 1860s. It was an effort to stabilize China by reasserting traditional Confucian culture while adapting and blending foreign technology, but it failed miserably. The open door policy was also instated in 1899, with spheres of influence. The Qin dynasty was on a steep decline and had lost a series of wars and social uprisings due to drought, famine, and addiction, and foreign threats had occurred. The Taiping Rebellion was built on Manchu settlements led by schoolteacher Hong Squang, and the Boxer Rebellion was led by Chinese boxers against foreign devils. China tried to maintain an isolationist foreign policy in a sense of only foreign trading in a port of Canton, but this didn't work either. The Sino-French War was over possession of Vietnam from French Indochina, in which France won. The Sino-Japanese War was a result of Japanese victory over the Liaotung Peninsula in Korea. The Opium Wars ended in British victory in the Treaty of Nanjing after China resisted opium trade with British merchants and refused to open ports of foreign importation. These all led to oppression of the people of China, which led to further revolts and unhappiness. The Qin dynasty ended in 1911 in the Chinese Revolution when the boy emperor Puyi was forced to abdicate his throne, and in 1912 Sun Yat-sen established the Republic of China. The opium trade was introduced by British merchants in 1773 and by 1838 was in high demand. This was one of the main reasons for the social and economic downfall of the Chinese dynasty. The government tried to repress/outlaw drug dealing, but it still found its way in. The European Christian missionaries tried to convert the Chinese to Christianity by appealing to the Chinese imperial court, but this was just a failed attempt, and it also started to crack the Chinese structure a little bit. Famine and drought led to a population decline in China in the mid-1800s. This left an uneasy feeling in the population and created a sense of unrest in its citizens. The opium trade had detrimental effects on Chinese society, who became dependent on opium, especially during a time of scarce food, starvation, and disease. Merchants and missionaries from West and Western Europe tried to impress the Chinese with Western developments as they promoted railroads, factories, and tried to tempt them to modernize their armies. The slogan, "Learn the superior technology of the barbarian in order to control him," by Tongzi, shows the Chinese arrogance, and oftentimes lethal arrogance, as it led to them thinking that they were far above those of the Western societies. This led to new plans for a modern army and navy and industrial changes with the crops. The changes were slow because of lack of government support due to the fact that they believed that they were better and more technologically advanced than those of the Westerners. They also introduced new innovations called the Zhongli Yamen, an imperial office established to manage relations with foreign countries, and the Jianggyang Arsenal, which was a Beijing fleet and China's first modern navy. Such reforms, however, were superficial and failed to solve the deep-seated institutional problems, as was made clear by China's humiliation in the Sino-Japanese War of 1894 to 1895. The self-strengthening movement did not help China in any way at the time, but it did lead to modern trained Chinese, many of whom would play important roles later in Chinese history. It also did develop, over time, a form of military to focus to attempts to develop modern transport and industry within China. Overall, the Chinese self-strengthening movement was an utter failure at the time and was a clear sign that China would not be a superpower for long.